Welcome, everyone. Look at this in the building that I have been gifted
Oh,
uh,
totally gifted. Yes.
by the city of Seattle. We're here in the 40th floor in the Naughton Hall of Fame building. Check it out. If you're coming here to Seattle, look for it. There might be big neon signs that are hidden, but it still might. One thing is true. I am on the 40th floor. That's not a lie.
Also, I mean, we have. Oh, I'm on the wrong side now. We have merch. I'm looking at myself in the mirror.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Well, I'm Kirk Buchner along with Evan Nolan, and we have finally met.
Yes, we have. There is video evidence. There is photographic
Yeah.
evidence. We met at Pete's Pancake House in Canton, Ohio,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Because
and we met Pete at the Pancake House. So
we
there you go.
met Pete. I mean, like that's great. I mean, like go to Pete's in Canton. Stay for a while and meet Pete. He's going to shake your hand. We enjoyed that. It was very
Official breakfast place of Naughton Hall of Fame.
there you go. And they were all super social. I mean, like they could tell that it was Hall of Fame weekend. They said like, "Where are you from?" And we just got to say like, "Here, here, 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 and here, here." And it was great.
Canton, this is a party for them, like every single year. It's both of our first time going.
Hmm.
Sure, we're going to open up with a lot of thoughts that we had
As
about
we
the
should.
weekend. So, a little setup for those who are watching. I went as a mere plebe, a normal person going in through the things. So I sat on the in section O on the floor of the
Mhm.
stadium. I don't know, maybe 30, 40 yards away from the stage,
I was further.
almost directly behind Michael Jordan by 25 of those yards. And you got the press pass in
I
the
did. Yeah.
free food and party invitations and stuff.
Well. This was first part was thanks to Chris Meridian, who just said, "I'm going to do this. I'll set you up." Like, sure, and then it did.
Yeah. Apparently, it's not as difficult as we thought to get press credentials for something like
Yeah. Well, I mean, we met. We also got to meet the legendary, and I'm going to say that the great sports historian, especially in Chicago, Jack Silverstein,
that.
and he's
Mhm.
got this great book out that Why We Root, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
talking to him in the next couple of weeks because I got a copy of his book, and it's fantastic. And the great thing about it is you don't have to be a Bears, Cubs, or whatever fan. It's about fandom.
Mhm.
And he told me that he's actually going to be interviewed. I don't know if you were there for that. He's going to
No,
be
hold on. Don't say anything more about it. It's under wraps. He hasn't officially announced it yet.
he hasn't officially announced it yet.
No, is doing a book thing in October. I'll say that.
Oh, I
But
thought that was official. Okay.
no, well,
All right.
it's
Thank you for
officially
that.
happening, but he hasn't officially announced it. I'm not going to be one to accidentally break it. So
Okay.
at least it
You,
had
you
at
might
least
be there. Yeah, 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 yeah.
last time I talked to Jack and had been officially announced. Let's just make sure we're not the ones who are
Okay.
making.
Well, if what
But
he
it's
thinks is
put
going
it
to
this way,
happen
it's
happens,
cool.
yeah. If
It's
what he
very
thinks is
cool.
going to happen happens, it's going to be damn cool. All right. So yeah, thank you for stopping me there. I was under a false pretense.
Yeah. So
So
and in case I'm under a false pretense, at least my way, we don't get in any trouble. So.
there you go. No, no, I like that. We got to meet Ron Katz. Ron is the person
Well,
who
you
I'm
did. I missed Ron,
Oh, you
unfortunately.
missed Ron. Okay. Well, Ron was the person who was very, very big in pushing Randy Gradishar into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He did it the most classy way possible. He also got myself and Paul Lawrence, our good friend, to the after party for Randy Gradishar, where I got to meet him and say, and he asked me, "Are you a Broncos fan?" Uh,
Which, to be your credit, you had a heck of a pivot on.
I did because I love college football, but I don't have a favorite team. So, but and I just said, well, I'm a big Ohio State fan, which isn't wrong. It's not right either, but I
It's
mean,
more
like,
accurate than your bring a Broncos
I couldn't lie. I'm not a liar, much to my credit and my detriment in my life.
fan. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I got to meet Carl Mecklenburg, briefly Tom Jackson, who ditched me for two women. I don't blame him. I would have done the same. But shout out, who's I don't know if we'll ever see this, but to Jim Ryan, a teammate of Randy, a 10-year Bronco, and just love talking with you. You were awesome. And a lot of the people I met there sort of like made me more inspirational for what we're doing here,
Yeah.
which is not just not in Hall of Fame. And of course, what we always plug. Sure. Time to
Oh yeah,
plug
there
this.
it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Hold on. I have it.
We got merch.
Got merch. Yeah. So I designed this myself. So if you
Mhm.
hate it, first of all, you're wrong. But secondly, I'm the one who designed it. So here's just the front with the logo,
Mhm.
and then back we got the 2023 inaugural class, and then all 25 athletes, 6 coaches, and 6 contributors in alphabetical order from Hank Aaron to John Wooden, which honestly, as bookends of any list, are pretty good
Pretty
bookends.
good. And so, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, which you could all be a part of just by voting. I mean, this is the only open vote in any major Hall of Fame,
Correct.
I would think. Go to www.usahof.com.
It's the UH at
Oh,
USAHF.
the usahof.com.
I know a lot's going on. We're very excited about a lot of things.
Yeah, you'd think I'd get that part right, especially since it's a lot easier than last year. But so you just sort of like go there, you're just going to click on the athletes, the contributors, and the coaches. And this is again, it's the only thing where Evan and I were a big part of deciding who were the nominees, as were a lot of former Olympians, some coaches, executives, bloggers, writers, whatnot. But at the end of the day, you decide. We don't. Because
Yeah,
if Evan and I decided, it might be a little different than what we actually got in the first class. Not by much.
there would have been some differences. Yeah,
We
but
would have had
no,
more football, I think.
probably. But then you look at the list too, and you're like, who would we have cut? That's a tough thing.
Exactly. And just a final shout out today, as we're recording this, it's August 11th. It would have been my mom's 81st birthday. My mom would have been my biggest fan for all of this, even though she wouldn't have understood one thing that I do. So
Fair enough.
the morning drink to mom, she loved her wine. I don't, but
It's Sunday. This is wine for the
well, my dad made a lot of cheap ass wine, so it's probably closer to this than even my bud. But yes. Uh, mm.
So let's start with the let's start with our experience though with the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what? So coming in,
Mhm.
what were you expecting?
I didn't really have any expectations.
Had you been to the Pro Hall before? I forgot.
I've been, but I've never like that was something I did in a brief thing like 15 years ago when I had a job that lasted all of 3 weeks in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, I got fired, by the way, which wasn't the worst thing that happened to me, truth be told. Uh,
Understood.
I think we talked about my Cleveland experience before. I'm not going to go into it
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
more, but one of the cool things I got to do is with a couple of people who were not fired. We went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which was a lot of fun. And the first thing I noticed coming back after 15 years is holy shit, it's a lot bigger in
Mhm.
terms of everything around it. The building itself isn't.
Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah.
So we've talked about before. I used to date a girl from Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I go out there, I'd go to the Rock Hall, and I've been to Canton. I think
Yeah.
this is my third, might be my fourth, third or fourth. But yeah, the whole area around, like,
Yeah.
this is going to be a weird comparison, but like when I was a kid going to Foxborough, it was like a state in the middle of nowhere, and it's
Yeah.
still a state in the middle of nowhere, but it's a state in the middle of nowhere with stuff around.
Yeah.
Canton was a facility right off a highway. I mean, it's right off
Mm-hmm.
the highway right there. You can see it as you drive by. But like the whole area around it is completely like football stadium up. I mean, there was the stadium, but now the high school fields are there's like, I don't know, 6, 7 full size fields like right next to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
wasn't
whole
there. I
area.
remember that.
Yeah, there's Ditka's whole area, like up the hill. We went for a beer at
Oh, and bet has finally been paid.
the bet has finally been paid. Yes.
Only one, because like the way it was going there, like you said like we got to go, like, and then Paul would said like we got to go to the thing. No, I owe him 5 more. Thankfully, it was only one.
Yeah. So yeah, so we paid a beer bet, but there's a whole bunch of stuff up there now, which
Yeah,
I don't remember being there before. So it's like almost a nice little campus.
Yeah.
as opposed to before. But the hall itself is great. Um, I've been, like I said, multiple times, and there are a lot of busts in that room. Where we one of the first things we noticed is apparently they have room for 3 more years.
You asked, yeah, you were
I,
asking
I
that.
did ask that one of the people there. So they essentially they have the panels up on the walls, and they can actually slide them down a little bit, and
Mhm.
they have space for 3 more. But because of that, they're going to be redoing the area downstairs where you first walk in.
I
Um,
I am positive, and I could be mistaken, but like, because when we went in there and then we went to the busts first, I thought like, why are we going up? I thought it was down. Maybe it was like when I was there the first time.
it's
It
always
felt like
been,
it was all like at this more of
yeah. I don't know,
a
but I mean,
semicircle, and maybe
yeah.
I'm misremembering.
No, I mean it was, like I said, there are a lot more classes there than there was, and that class of 2020 takes up a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
it did.
but that was, I mean, just going through and seeing everybody. And from this, I told this story about after we parted, I went back to the room and the buildings was waiting for my ride,
Mhm.
and I was talking to a guy. I came across a guy from Sports Illustrated who walked through like I don't even know who the hell Walt Kiesling is, and like 3 years ago I would have had no idea who Walt Kiesling is. Thanks to you, Kirk.
Same, same.
Yeah, but thanks to our, not just you, but like the people who we do all of the stuff we're doing with the
Yeah,
particular Pro Football Hall of Fame redo. Um, but thanks to them, we are actually a lot more educated on the stuff.
yeah.
But just still, the busts are amazing. I still think I'm still taken. I think I point out to all you guys the greatest bust in there, in my opinion, in terms of like how they did it, is George Young's. George Young was the general manager of the Giants. For those of you guys who don't know, and they make it so it looks like he's wearing glasses when he's not. He's the only person in there they have with glasses on, and it is so freaking well done. A lot of them look exactly like the people. There's some that are a little bit off. Um, my
Well,
favorite my favorite fact I found out, I have to tell you that. So I was talking to that guy about the walls, and he mentioned that all of the busts weigh 35 pounds. So they're all hollow on the inside except for one. And the one that's not hollow on the inside is Al Davis's because the mold broke when they were doing it. So Davis's is actually over 60 pounds, but they didn't want to redo it because Davis is was such a pain in the ass that they were worried that he was going to be furious that he got something other people didn't. And so
yeah.
his bot never apparently told him and just set up the bust heavier than everybody else's. By the way, the second heaviest one in there at 37 pounds is Troy Polamalu's because of all
Well,
the hair.
that's actually a good segue because I like in terms of the bus. So there's two notices. Like one, just the fact they did sort of like maintain the hair. I mean,
Yeah.
it cheapened out on it, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The second was, and I don't know if you were there for that. I overheard a group of Bears fans, and they were in awe of the Walter Payton bust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess you weren't. So, and I should have gone up to them, and I didn't. And that's my only real minor regret of the weekend. And so these Bears fans they're looking at the Peyton bus like, oh my God, it's much better. So this one guy he went through his phone and then showed his dad like, see, they changed it. So I guess the Walter Payton one didn't look as good as maybe it should have.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had the photo evidence, and that's my only regret. I didn't go up to him and just sort of like ask for that picture, which segues to you'll like this. Want a shot at my expense?
Okay, good.
Yeah, I know you love that. So, so at one point, so this is when Chris and I we didn't because we have our press passes. We don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'll admit that. And Jack pulls me aside and says, "You never had a press pass before? No. Act like you've been here before." Okay. But anyway, before that, so shout out to Jack, who's awesome. Also,
Mm-hmm.
you've got better hair than me, which pisses me off, but that's another story for
Fair
another time.
enough.
Yeah. So all the Hall of Famers are walking through. You might have still been there. I'm not sure. But
I mean, I was still there when the Hall of Famers were walking through.
yeah,
I will tell you,
yeah.
I got way more emotional than I should have when I saw Mean Joe Green. Like I'm not a
You're not a Steelers guy, yeah.
Steelers fan by any means, but like Mean Joe Green is almost like a mythical character in my life, if that makes sense, right?
Oh, it
He was,
makes perfect sense. I
he was
mean, the Coke
basically
commercial.
he was still playing when I was a little kid, but he's
Yeah,
basically retired, so I never got to see him play. But the fact that I was like, holy crap, that's Mean Joe Green
yeah.
was like, I don't know, it was amazing to me. So I mean, I saw when we walked in, I was like, I think that's Anthony Munoz. Like,
And it
why is
was,
Anthony
yeah.
Munoz walking in through the front door of the building? And
When
it was
yeah, when there's the whole thing where like for all the special people and the press.
Anthony Munoz looks like he's in great shape, by the way.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So, but they're as they're walking through, like at that point, Chris and I were trying to figure out how the hell do we get to where we're supposed to? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuck and they block that stuff out. And there's this one girl beside me, and she's got what I thought was credentials. It wasn't. It was her retail because she works at retail, and she brought her boyfriend, and lovely lady, who's short like me because I'm short as fuck, as Evan can now attest to in person.
I was the second tallest person in our group. I mean, after Jeff left from breakfast, I was the tallest, which is hilarious. It's like I was back in Boston.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't meet Ron because Ron towers over all of us.
Oh, does he?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
surprised. I'm not surprised about for some of the pictures I've seen. But continue.
yeah, yeah. So she goes up to one person who's sort of like got the phone going up there and asks for an airdrop. And she, I talked to her briefly, and then she says, like, I can airdrop you all that. Well, thank you. And then unfortunately, in my contacts, my short vision is shit, which is why I've got these.
Nice.
Yes, I'm not going to do the Charles Nelson Riley. But anyways, I'm doing that. She's like, just give me your phone, and then she does all that for me and airdrops the whole walk of all that. And then she says, "Yeah, I'm 26. I help a lot of old people at the bank and my other job."
She's literally half your age. So
But literally, she is half my age. Saying that though, it's like this beautiful black girl. I always like to think that I've got this swag, like I've done better with the chocolate than I should have.
hey, let's keep going off of that.
Apparently, yeah. Either way, it was a very humbling and hysterical thing, and something that I thought you would get a kick out of,
Yeah.
probably more than anybody else.
So yeah, so we did get to meet. We went to breakfast. We came in, took a whole bunch of photos, um, and then it started raining. Uh,
Oh,
so
rain pretty bad,
it
yeah.
rained. There was thunderstorms, everything. So we're all inside. We saw Peyton Manning very briefly as he was coming in,
Did
and
they shoot
then
like a video off his forehead, just for entertainment?
I did make a joke that was the least accurate bust in there because it made it look like what he is now and not what it looked like when he was playing. Um, but um, so we're all just like walking around doing different things, and they have to move the hall. And I don't think they do this normally. They have to move the Hall of Famers through the hall to a special room to
Mm.
get ready and for all the food and everything because where they normally do it, I don't think they could because of the weather. So we're just standing there, and I see Richard Seymour come through, who is gargantuan, and I mean all sorts. So I mean, I'll be honest. Did I know who every Hall of Famer who walked through was? I didn't by sight. Mean Joe Green, I knew
Yeah.
instantaneously. Emmett Smith, I knew instantaneously. Harry Carson's looked like Harry Carson his entire life. I know that sounds weird,
Tony
but Harry
Dungy looks like Tony Dungy, but we see him every week.
That's true. I saw Tony Dungy as well, and hey, I did not boo, so we got that going for us. Um,
You wouldn't though. You're classy.
I know. Willie Lanier just held court though when he came out. He came upstairs,
Mhm.
and he was just like, someone's like Willie, and he was like, hey, and he just like Willie Lanier is 78 years old, and he's just like walking through, shaking everybody's hand.
Some had more fun than others.
Oh yeah, Willie Lanier loved being there. Zach Thomas walked back and forth a lot, and I went and looked up what he was listed at his playing height, and it
Mm.
said 6 feet. We've already discussed the shortness of our group. He and I are the exact same height, and I like to pretend I'm 5'10". And I'm probably now pretending I'm 5'9". I'm probably like just about 5'8" and 7/8.
Well, I joke if I ever get separated from my wife, which God I hope never happens because that'll be a mess. I may be 5'7", possibly 5'8". On my dating profile on Tinder, if I just learned what that is, I'd be 5'10".
Sure. But regardless, Zach Thomas is not as tall as I thought he was.
Yeah.
Who is as tall as he thought he was? After I didn't see you guys anymore, I went back in and Willie Roaf came through and I just shook Willie Roaf's hand. And that man is a freaking giant.
Mhm.
When we shook hands, his fingers came up beyond my wrist. That's how big that man is.
I'm jealous of that. A former Saint.
Yeah, former Saint. A lot of
Yeah.
people get pictures. I just shook his hand. He was on his way somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sort of the same way. There's a bunch of pictures I could have took, I didn't, but
Yeah.
uh,
Plus, you got a press pass, and I didn't, so that would have been a little bit weird. Uh,
not at that point in time, though.
Maybe not. That's
Okay,
true.
but next time we're doing that, we're both going to have one
No, that's true.
because I'm thinking we're going to do like the baseball football thing.
We'll see. Well, I don't know about baseball because that's usually the week I'm already up in Wisconsin now. So, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah, first world problems, huh?
We got a whole year to figure it
Yeah,
out.
but it was sort of good. Also, we got to meet a couple of the people who did vote in
Yes.
our USA Hall of Fame. Again, special thanks to Jack Silverstein. If you haven't read his stuff, please do. You don't have to be a Bears fan to necessarily get his vibe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
actually, Jack.
sorry, I do have to bring up one thing that did happen. So
Yeah, go ahead.
Jack Paul and I were together, and Jack comes up to Paul and I. He's like, "Hey, they're doing something on defunct football teams around the corner. You want to go do it?"
Yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah.
we're like, sure. And so it's this little theater. There are 3 seats in the front, and then like 5, and then 7, and goes from there.
Mm.
And people are sitting in the second row, and Jack's like, "Let's sit up right up front." So they're sitting right up front with the two guys, and they asked, "All right, how many default football teams have won the NFL championship?" And he goes, "Well, the Akron Pros and the Canton Bulldogs." I said the Providence Steamroller, and he said I can't remember the fourth one off the top of my head.
Portsmouth.
What?
Portsmouth.
Yeah, but I don't think it's Portsmouth because they're the Lions now. I can't remember what that team that was. And I said the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. So that's 5. You guys like stop it. That's the correct answer. 5. Nobody's ever gotten that right before. And Jack and I just shook hands across the front of it. And I've never felt so happy to be a nerd as in that moment. But yeah, Jack is a very, very bright man. Thanks to Paul as well, who was great the whole time. Chris Meridian. It was great to meet Chris. We also got to meet Jeff. I can't remember Jeff's last name.
Bacchus, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Who's
Windy City Gridiron.
Yeah, who's Jack's podcast partner for a lot of stuff. Yeah. He was a real nice guy. But yeah, it was quite an event.
The other thing too, before we sort of move on to the next thing, and one thing that because I moved on from my press box, and then coming down to
you did come down with us on the floor.
I wanted to. So, but all right, Houston Texans fans, you guys are awesome.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I expected Bears fans, right? Because we had Mongo, we had Hester, and we had Peppers. It was funny. Anytime there was a highlight in which somebody sacked a Packers quarterback, there's a lot of cheering in the crowd.
There was.
Yes, the last one to go was Andre Johnson. And as we're standing there, during the opening for Patrick Willis, I don't really notice Patrick Willis's video, the introduction video, as much because as Paul and I are sitting there, basically the entire Houston Texans team came down their walkway right next to us.
Yeah.
Because they were there for Andre Johnson. They've been there for the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, and then practiced with the Browns a couple of days, and then came back down for the Hall of Fame for Andre Johnson, the first. I don't know if anyone's ever played for the Texans who's gotten in, but the first real Texan.
Well, the first real Texan.
Yeah, who got into the Hall of Fame. And my God, Texans fans were loud.
I was impressed. And then I sort of like fanboyed out, actually for you, because like I'm watching you sort of like go up after like congratulating Texans fans,
doing
all that, and again, you being the Pats fan, me being the Saints fan, it's like we have nothing against Houston. Why would we?
No.
We're just there, sort of like in awe
Yeah.
of
Well,
you guys are
it's
awesome. It was
yeah,
fantastic.
it's north. It's the north, maybe northeast, but also like the old school football thing. Like they haven't been around that long. They've been around for like 20 plus years now. But like
But
but like
it's
in
football
our heads
central
they
in
haven't been
Texas.
right. In our heads they haven't been around that long. And Houston
Yeah.
lost the team in the ring, but my God, did they show up? The other thing I have to say about this, and I meant Paul said when I was talking when because Paul and I were not in the press box, but we were sitting there talking. I'm sorry, I have to put one
That's
more.
all right.
But we were sitting there talking. It was like because he'd been before, and he's like, "What did you think about this?" And I was like, "The one thing that I was not expecting was the amount of joy there. Like everybody in Canton was happy. Everybody in the hall was happy. Like the police officers who are helping people through. Officer Volpe of the Canton Police Department is a freaking superstar in budding. I don't know what he should he should be in public relations. He was fantastic with everybody. Um, but like the Hall of Famers were happy, the families were happy, the fans were happy. Like it was raining and nobody really cared. Um,
Mhm.
and that was just the amount of joy.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing I wasn't anticipating. I've been in the hall with the bus before, and there's a certain amount of reverence that goes along with just being in that room, right? Like when people say you feel like they talk to each other at night, you get that feeling when you're in
Mhm.
there. But like, so there was a reverence in there, and I was expecting, but just the pure joy of the day was not something that I was anticipating. Um, and yeah, and it was great. Oh, one other person I want to give a quick shout out to. Um, we when we were getting that beer, we're sitting there, and a very large gentleman comes and sits down at the end of the table, and starts talking to Jack, and it's Patrick Manley, who is the
Mhm.
player who has the most all-time games played for the Bears, the long snapper for many years. And I listen to here on the Score, 670 Score, which is one of the best sports radio stations in the country, in my opinion. Particularly coming from Boston, which used to be awesome, and now it's just like the whiniest bastards you've ever met in your entire life. They're awful. Sports radio in Boston is awful. Um, but so we're sitting down with Patrick, and he was really great. But we had a good debate over who we thought the next Bear to get in the Hall of Fame was, because there are three this time. I mentioned McMichael, we mentioned Hester,
Mhm.
but also Julius Peppers, who was a Bear for a significant amount of time. That
Mhm.
was one team. Like there were very few Panthers fans there, which is always surprising, because he's really the first main Panther to get in. Like I know he played for the Bears. I know he
Not
played.
not just that. I mean, like he played at UNC. He's from North Carolina.
Jordan
So
was there because of him. Michael Jordan was there because of his connection to Julius Peppers, from what I
did they
understand.
show him on camera
They
anywhere?
did not. He pointed him out, but he didn't go up on camera. And one of Michael asked him not to do that.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't put him up there. But I was a little surprised there weren't more Panthers fans there. But anyway, regardless. Um, what was I talking about before that?
I was gonna say I'm not that surprised. The Panthers fans aren't as I hate to say it, they're not the most dedicated. Like
Well,
when I went there in my Saints gear, I feel safe. I'll put it that way, and I
okay.
have
Okay. Yeah, the Panthers fans also have the worst team in football at the moment. So
at the moment. Yes.
yeah, that might also have something to do with it. But no, but the whole experience was great. Oh, Patrick Manley, that was the other thing. So we were talking about um, how many the next bear to get in, and I think we all came to the opinion it's probably Peanut Tillman. As I said during the presentations when they did when I sang with Paul when the presentation for Dwight Freeney, who was the first one to go,
Mhm.
so the Colts fans could leave early because they did not stick around. We had a whole bunch of them in front of us. They were gone as soon as it started raining after Freeney was done.
Mhm.
Uh, but uh, they had a whole thing of Freeney didn't just sack the quarterback; he knocked the football out. I was like, they should just do how knocking the football out is so important, and just clip that part and just put it in the presentation for Peanut Tillman next year. But it's interesting. I think we should do that at some point, maybe coming up here, of the next player we think to get in from each team. I think that might be an interesting
I
exercise.
like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, come up, see if we come up with the same one. Some teams will be interesting. Some teams will be, I don't know when there's another one. Like
Okay, you, me, and one other person. We'll figure that out later.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe Steve take the Panthers again. Is Steve Smith the next Panther? If so, they're gonna have to get through a whole bunch of wide receivers to get there. Like there's gonna be
No,
some.
Kuechly.
What? Oh, I'm sorry, Kuechly. I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
It's stupid. Kuechly's up next year.
yeah.
So after Kuechly gets in, then it's going to be a question with the
Yeah.
Panthers.
So no, that's actually that'll be a fun show. Okay. All right. We'll
So
put
think about that going forward.
yeah.
But anyway, but the Bears are an interesting one. I don't know who the next Bear to get in is going to be. But yeah, that's I would 100% go again. And I
Jim
would
McMahon.
Jim McMahon's not getting in. So, but I would 100% go again. And this time it was kind of combined with my family. We had a weird secondary family vacation,
Mhm.
which is never going to happen like that again. So I think I'd love to do it again with less family constraints, put it that way. So I could spend more time on like Thursday and Friday as well as
There you
Saturday.
go. Yeah, sounds good. Uh, cool. So we've got in terms of actual Hall of Fame related news, other than us going to it, there's really not that much.
I
Saying
mean,
that,
since we did this, they did have the Baseball Hall of Fame induction.
right, but we don't have.
Yeah, the only thing I will say about that is the story about Jim Leland saying to his wife, "Did you think in your wildest dreams that I'd ever be up here at the Hall of Fame?" And she responded, "Jim, you're not in my wildest dreams." I think that was one of the funniest lines I have ever heard in my entire life, and he laughed his ass off. And
That's
I can
awesome.
just imagine being married to Jim Leland for all these years. But yeah, honey, can you imagine in your
Oh no,
wildest
that's great. I didn't hear that.
Jim, you're not in my wildest
Yeah.
dreams.
I will say I plan to attend a lot more halls of fame in my
Mhm.
next future. Next future? Current future. I don't know why I
Future.
said next future. I've been watching too much sci-fi. Just
Mhm.
seen in my right in my head. Uh, I've got a bit of an elevator. You've got a good, bad, and ugly, but we didn't really prep any of this. I've got a whole Olympic rant, but I thought that might sort of like tie in with your good, bad, and ugly. So I'm gonna hold it.
Maybe. What's your Olympic rant generally on?
Everything.
Oh, that's
Some
awfully
good, some bad.
that's awfully broad. Okay. Well, let's get through the those we've lost first, maybe.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking. Let's do that. I'll do a couple elevators, and then if you haven't touched on good, bad, ugly in Olympics, I'll throw a couple thoughts. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Um,
Who did we lose in the last 2 weeks?
Hold on one second. I
Sadly, it's
accidentally closed the tab. I didn't mean to. Give me one quick second just to get this up. There it is. Is this the right one? Yes. Okay. I found what I was looking for. All right. So the first thing, I think we should start with is one of the greatest arrest videos of all time, the Democracy Manifest and Second Chinese Meal arrest from Australia in 1991. I don't know if you ever saw that one. You should go look it up. If not, it's a
no.
gentleman who's being arrested by police. Um, uh, where he goes, where he says, "Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. What is the charge? Eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal." Yeah, and it goes off and everything. But his name was Jack Carlson, and one of the earliest memes. Jack Carlson passed away at the age of 82. You should go look that up if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, this sounds like you just did a Monty Python bit, so I'll have to look
This
this up.
whole thing seems like a Monty Python bit. I'm not going to lie to you,
Okay, yeah.
but it was very very good. Also passing away, character actor, One of my favorite character actors, again, Charles Cyphers, passed away at the age of 85. You probably best know him as Sheriff Brackett from Halloween back in 1978. I
Okay.
also did Halloween 2 in 81 and Halloween Kills in 2021.
Hmm.
He was in Escape from New York. He was in tons of like shows in the 80s, uh, I mean, even going back, Cannon, Barnaby Jones, Starsky and Hutch, Bionic Woman, $6 Million Man. Just one of those guys just kept showing up with stuff. Dukes of Hazzard, all the way through ER, Sliders. Um,
Sliders. I used to love sliders.
yeah, Jag, Lois and Clark, tons and tons of Murder She Wrote, of course, because everyone shows up in Murder She Wrote from that time period. But he passed away at the age of 85.
Hmm.
Close that. There we go. All right. Also passing away, Nurse Ogawa from Star Trek Next Generation, Patty Yasutaki, passed away.
No.
Yeah, she passed away at the age of 70. So
Oh.
she died of a rare form of T cell lymphoma. But of course, she was in Star Trek Next Generation and a whole bunch of other stuff along the way,
I remember
including
her.
TV newscaster Leslie in the great movie Stop or My Mom Will Shoot from 1992.
Well, it was a movie. You got that part right.
But yeah, she was only 70.
Yeah.
Also passed away, Connie Chiumi, best known as probably best known from Black Panther movies. She was Zawavari from Black Panther. She passed away at the age of 72.
Okay.
Um, and one that means probably a little more to me than you. I love West Side Story. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I never
And
seen it.
you should watch it. But a member of the Jets, when most of those dancers have lived a very long time. We've lost a few over the last year or so. Another one, Robert Bannis, passed away at the age of 90. He was in a whole bunch of other stuff. It was actually another. He was one of the chimney sweeps in Mary Poppins, as a
Mhm.
matter of fact, and all sorts of other stuff. But he passed away in assisted living facility at the age of 90.
Mm.
All right, now to the other stuff. Former NAIA championship basketball coach Robert Moreland. He won the NAIA championship in '77 with Texas Southern. He passed away at the age of 85. From music, let's do wrestling first. Kevin Sullivan
Mhm.
also passed away from the WWE. I'm gonna let you go on this one.
Yeah, well, no, he was in WWF back when that's when it was called, like in the late 70s briefly, but he had this like his first 10 years were pretty much nondescript. And then he sort of developed this cult leader demonic gimmick in Florida, where he never said that he was a devil worshiper, but
He
that was
intimated.
kind of implied. Yeah.
Got it.
Feuded with Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham, like the top people then. Went to the NWA, had his feuds there. He had this weird thing where he was leading the varsity club. So you have this demonic cult leader leading a bunch of people who used to play college football. No, it didn't make any sense, but whatever. Later on, he would be the booker for WCW, which, for those wondering what that means, he was basically the head writer. And he actually booked his own divorce in a weird thing. So Evan, I know that you've got a basic knowledge of pro wrestling, but those who don't, you probably know who Chris Benoit is.
Yes,
Yeah, so Chris Benoit killed his wife.
correct.
His wife was Kevin Sullivan's
That's
wife.
Kevin Sullivan's wife,
Yeah,
Nancy
initially.
Tony. Yeah.
And he booked this whole thing where she would be dating Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, then they fell in love. And then she really left him,
Mm.
which is kind of fucked up when you think about it. But long story short, Sullivan had this great mind for wrestling. accomplished a hell of a lot. We talk about like actual height. Guarantee he would have been shorter than me, but
Mm.
he had a phenomenal career. Not in the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if he will be or ever will be. Probably not because of the whole Benoit thing, even though he has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, yeah, phenomenal character.
Yeah, and with a name like Kevin Sullivan from Cambridge, Massachusetts, and died in
Yes.
Kirk, Massachusetts.
Yep.
I figured as much, but he apparently had a major accident back in May. A
Yeah, that's really
devastating
sad. Yeah.
accident that had impacted his health. I don't know what it was. He underwent surgery and survived medical complications, but ultimately a blood clot is what ended up killing him from
Yeah. That accent, that was a Boston accent that he had. I'm
oh
a
yeah.
cult leader.
Yeah,
It was,
Ted Kenny was like, all right, calm down a little bit.
it's not that far off. I swear. You could only hear him. It doesn't matter like what character he was trying to do. Like it's like, yeah, this one thing, he was leader of the Dungeon of Doom, which was this goofball group trying to like end Hulkamania when Hulk Hogan entered '94. It's like, oh father, what do we do, father? It was,
All right.
yeah.
All right.
Having said that, like a a big part of my wrestling in the '90s.
Yeah. Okay. Um, moving on to football, we also lost Steve Cragthorpe, former coach of both Tulsa and Louisville. He died of complications from Parkinson's disease at only
Mm.
the age of 59. He led Tulsa to the Conference USA title in '05, won the Liberty Bowl. Uh, but yeah, he passed away at the age of 59. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's back in 2011. He was only 2011. He only would have been 56. No, 46, right? Yeah, he was 46. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He passed at 59. So, also from football, Jim Kearney played with the Lions, Chiefs, and Saints from 65 to 76. 11th round pick out of Prairie View A&M. Played 142 games. Was a member of the Super Bowl IV Kansas City Chiefs winning team. But he passed away at the age of 81. Safety on that team, 23 career interceptions. Also passing away, member of the Super Bowl VI winning Dallas Cowboys, Dwayne Thomas, running back,
Mm.
passed away at the age of 77. Led the NFL in touchdowns in 1971. Only had 2,038 career rushing yards and 21 TDs. But yeah, he passed at the age of 77.
Very
Uh,
interesting career. Paul and I, when we've done our past Super Bowls,
mhm.
so like we did sort of like a deep dive into Dwayne Thomas. Like he, one of those people who bet on himself early, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And in his case, it kind of didn't, but he still was a Super Bowl champ.
Yeah. Uh, from baseball, long time uh, relief pitcher for the Cardinals, Giants, Cubs, Rays, Mariners, Blue Jays, and Tigers. Doug Creek also won
I
a
remember him. Yeah.
silver medal at the World Junior Baseball Championships.
Hmm.
Doug Creek passed away at the age of 55 um, uh, of pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he pitched. He had I don't know how many appearances he had. His first appearance was in 1995. His last was in 2005. So he had 10 years in the majors, plus a brief stint in Japan as well. Had one season with the Hanshin Tigers over there. Probably the biggest name who passed away from baseball this week was Billy Beane, who played for the Tigers, Dodgers, and Padres, as well as one season for the Kentetsu Buffaloes over in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
But the second professional baseball player ever to come out.
After
And
him.
well, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say after because like there
Yeah,
is yeah.
sorry. Yes, after his playing career, because that was not a thing that would have happened at his time.
No.
Who had been a major member of the MLB's diversity initiatives, essentially over the last what 15 years.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. Do you have anything to say on Billy Bean?
No, no, not really. Just one of those things where it's sort of shitty that like nowadays, as we've seen with Carl Nassib, if you come out, nobody gives a shit. But
Yeah.
he couldn't. Uh, I'm sure there's probably still, well, I don't know, but there's no active MLB player who I believe is gay, or at least openly gay.
That I believe is true.
Yeah.
At least I haven't heard of it. So
Which could mean that there are none, or they don't feel comfortable. But if they came out, nope.
the most Republican of the league, certainly. So
But I've been like, I don't think anyone would give a crap at this point.
you never know. I mean, I know there's a certain kicker who would give a crap. So
Who? Oh, fuck. Okay. Well, Woody though.
so you never know. So
Woody,
anyway,
we're talking about Harrison Butker.
yeah.
I don't think that he would necessarily care. I don't fucking. Let's move on. I don't want to go on Harrison Butker. I don't.
Okay, fair enough. But anyway, Billy Bean passed away from acute myeloid leukemia at the age of 60.
Mhm.
We've lost three folks from music, and then a major name in golf, and that's where we'll stop. So Joey Gilmore, uh, electric blues and soul blues singer, songwriter, guitarist, played with James Brown, Etta James, Bobby Blue Bland, Little Milton, Little Johnny Taylor, a whole bunch of folks like that. He passed away at the age of 80. Also passing away is Sean Martin, member of the jazz fusion band Snarky Puppy.
Hmm.
But he passed away at the age of 45 after he had a massive stroke in April of 2023. But yeah, he was only 45 years old. And the biggest name we lost from music. Here's a trivia question for you before I say it. What is the shortest song
Wait. Oh,
ever to be number one in music history,
the
either in
shortest in terms of length?
terms of length? A minute and 57 seconds.
Tequila?
Nope.
Mm.
It is let me make sure I have the year right. It is the 19, he wrote it in 1953, 1963 song, no, 1960 song, Stay. Stay just a little bit
That's
longer.
that's that's short. That's a short song.
A minute and 57 seconds long. And the person who wrote it and sang it was Maurice Williams. So Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs. Uh,
Never would have got that in a million years.
yeah. So Maurice Williams passed away. Hold on a second. At the age of
Yeah. Oh, won't you stay?
yeah. The funny thing about that. So Maurice Williams is 86. But if you ever watch that, the guy who sings "Oh Won't You Stay," the really high part looks like. Hold on a second. All right, you're good. Sorry, my daughter is telling me she's going to a neighbor's house. Um, the guy, the guy who sings that part looks like uh, oh god, I can't think of the actor's name. But he's a big, broad-shouldered dude. He's the biggest guy in the group, and he
Mhm.
has the real high-pitched falsetto tone in there. But yeah, so Maurice Williams passed away at the age of 86. But the biggest name we lost this week, I would say, without a doubt, and had we recorded this on Thursday, we'd be doing this next week.
Mhm.
Um, Chichi Rodriguez,
Mhm.
swashbuckling golfer.
Yep.
You hit a good shot and then with
Yeah,
his
yeah, 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 yeah. Just that.
put it away. Um, won 8 times in the PGA Tour, 22 times on the Champions Tour. Member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. Was the senior PGA Money List Tour winner back in 1987. To show you how old he is, he won the Tour Cedar Tour in '87. but he passed away at the age of 88. Is someone who would be eligible for our Hall of Fame. He was born in Puerto Rico, represented Puerto Rico and the United States. But he turned professional in 1960 and was active really through not that long ago. So
Yeah. Okay. So here's the first time I ever heard of Chichi Rodriguez. See if I'm going to play this here.
mhm.
Hopefully, there's no video. God damn it, the course there is. Or like a promo here. Let me just get that here. This only means something maybe to you and me. So I'll just mute that as a letting it go through that stupid thing here. All right, here we go.
Winner of this week's Gulf Coast Golf Classic was Chai Chai Rodriguez. Finished with a 9 under par score. Chichi Rodriguez. Hopefully, Mr. Rodriguez will play up to
Yeah. So for me, that's pretty cool. That's the first time I ever heard of who that was. It was on a WKRP episode.
Yes. Yeah.
Right after that, they don't have that, where Johnny Fever says, like, so what's that small Mexican dog? And he goes, a Chihuahua?
Well, because
I didn't mean that in great respect to Mr. Rodriguez.
well, there was also the Dear Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, where John Leguizamo's character was named Chichi Rodriguez, and Rodriguez actually sued them because he didn't want the association with him and a drag queen, which I can understand back in 1995,
back then, you know,
what things were.
interesting.
And they settled for an undisclosed amount. So Chi-Chi's been around for some weird reasons.
Yeah, Leguizamo's an interesting sort of like far left in a way, because as you know, I'm not a big extremist thing, but that's the fact that he sort of plays a drag queen, and he got really upset that James Franco was going to play Castro. He's not Cuban. You're not actually a drag queen, dude.
Also true.
You're not Italian when you played Luigi. It's okay. You're an actor. That's fine.
Luigi's not Italian either. He's a plumber in Japan. So anyway.
Well, okay. Well, then that role should have went to an Italian plumber in Japan.
There's only one. His name's Luigi. Anyway, or two. I'm sorry. The other one's named Mario. Anyway. Right. So that's
clown world we live in. But anyway.
Yeah. So he passed away at the age of 88. He also had Sega Genesis also had Chi-Chi's Pro Golf Challenge back in the day from 1993. I don't know if you remember that game.
No, I don't. But it's just like I remember the sort of like, the thing you do after a putt. I mean, like, it was swagger before we knew what that was.
100%. Yeah, and Chi-Chi was.
Yeah.
I always think that Chi-Chi and Payne Stewart were the two most entertaining people in golf when I was a kid. Like when I was little, like Payne Stewart's with his high socks and the page boy cap and like his reactions on stuff, because I'll be honest, I think golf sucks in general, like to watch.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
do whatever, it's just not my thing. But those two were people who made it interesting. So Godspeed to Chi-Chi. He was 88.
Useless fact here for you. So Barry Darsow, who was Demolition Smash when he was in WCW, was going to debut a character. I might have this backwards a bit. In there, he eventually became Mr. Hole in One Barry Darsow, but he was going to be Stuart Payne, and then Payne Stewart died, so he didn't do that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So normally at this point we do the Hall of Fame elevator. I've got some things that I want to talk about, but I think it might tie in with your good, bad, and ugly, because the only thing I asked you was, are you doing anything Olympic related? So I'm gonna.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be as direct as yours. So just go ahead and do your
Okay.
way.
All right. So like for our U.S. Hall of Fame, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, I'm gonna get this right. www.theusahof.com.
Like the Ohio State or the American University.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for helping me out with that before. I only just created it, but anyway. There's a couple people who are going to be first ballot now. One of your favorite athletes, Simone Biles,
Yeah.
uh, who overcame the most bullshit thing. Well, not bullshit. In 2021, and I said this to you, and like we had a bit of an argument over this. I said how she choked. She did, because that's literally correct, but nobody would have got to the point where she did to
Mhm.
sort of even compete at that point. And I mentioned this to Chris because we did our elevator show, and so this is a bit of a duplicate. But if Simone Biles and the rest of the United States women's team said, "Screw this, we're not competing for the United States," they would have been justified.
Yeah.
They would have totally been justified. I mentioned to him that there was a Canadian bobsledder who won gold for the United States because something similar with a coach happened to her. She said, "I'm not competing for Canada. You didn't have my back."
Mhm.
All of these women were justified to say, "Screw this,"
Mhm.
because USA Gymnastics dumped all over them and
Mhm.
protected a creed.
Mhm.
And the fact that Simone and a lot of other people still competed for your country, you're blessed. I don't know that I would have.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, Simone, out of this, I, Simone and Katie Ledecky are certainly
Same.
the
That was
first.
my other one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying they're clearly the first ballot Hall of Famers for our hall when they get there. I mean,
Yeah.
Katie Ledecky's 27, and Simone,
Yes.
I think they're both 27. I mean, Simone's 26 or 27. So we're talking about the class of
Well,
uh,
Simone looks the same as she did when she was
oh,
17, which is
right,
crazy. So it's, oh yeah, she's in
but
the
my
relationship
point
with
is
an NFL
my
player.
point is we're talking about the class of 2048 here.
Yeah.
So
Well, but I guess in both cases, both of them are going to get in. It's just a matter of what ballot it is. And we don't have a gymnast, we don't have a swimmer. We're only 1 year in, but
Mhm.
we haven't had a name like this. I mean,
Mhm.
well, Michael Phelps.
Yeah, but again, he's not eligible either. So
Right, right. So I mean, like those are
I
pretty
mean,
big.
Mark Spitz is somebody who has an argument for having been in the first class,
He didn't.
he didn't. I'm not shocked he didn't, but he had an argument certainly.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, so we'll see exactly when we get there. But is there anyone else who you're like, hey, that's a major thing for them?
Yeah, like in terms of the US Olympics,
Yeah,
I have a negative, and that's Shikari. I love her. I love her to pieces. But and she did win a gold in the women's 4x100. But I think we've seen that if you're going to win this, get in this, you've got to at least win the whole thing in the 100, and she didn't. And just side note, congratulations to St. Lucia having their first ever Olympic medal.
that was one of the things
Congratulations.
that was one of the things I was going to bring up.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay.
Yeah, but no, keep going though.
Okay. Well, also too, like we've had our first refugee medal
Yep.
that happened. And my first thought was because when I'm looking at the person, it was Cindy, I'm blanking on the last name. I apologize. But she was from the Central African Republic. I could again, I might be wrong
No,
on that.
So Sydney Nagamba, she was from Cameroon.
Well, Cameroon. Okay, I got the C part right. Okay, either way, but she moved to England at 11, and my first thought when I'm reading this, like, ah, fuck, did she just sort of like do this so that she could get in? And then you realize, like, oh no, she's still not a citizen of the UK, which
She's a
is
refugee.
weird in itself that she's still not a UK citizen after being there for 12, 13 years. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
So, you know, either way, congratulations to her. Congratulations to the nation of St. Lucia. I loved what you sent me because, like, we had our little moment where, because my wife is from Indonesia and, like, you were talking about archery. And it was like one of those things where, like, yeah, we watched a bit of that and that was kind of cool. And that was the first time my wife saw it. Oh my God, it's Indonesian. And then you sent me this one thing of an Indonesian gold medal, this little itty bitty guy who's like lifting.
164 pounds, the guy.
Yeah.
164 pounds or 160 pounds, excuse me,
Mm.
and weight lifted 437. Like that's basically it's more than 2.5 times his body weight. He's a freaking ant.
And he did it.
Get it?
Yeah.
To
So
160 pounds lift powerlifting 437.
and that's the best part of these Olympics is
Yeah.
stories like this. I have a feeling there might be some stories that we're going to go into a little bit later, which I have a bit of a smorgasbord of shit, and another I might bring back the Jilly Award.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I might
Well,
not. I don't know. So there's that, and I've got another deep cut. I did mention this on the thing I did with Chris, but uh, I've got a weird elevator down because uh, for me, the Olympics, there's a hierarchy, obviously, I think for all of us.
mhm,
I get excited most about basketball,
mhm,
especially this year because the Americans sent their best.
mhm,
They don't always.
mhm. Yep.
Um, but if Dennis Schroeder in Germany would have gotten through and maybe pulled off an upset, Dennis Schroeder would have been a dark horse for an
Ooh,
international inductee,
interesting.
especially yeah, especially after being an MVP of FIBA.
Mm,
For whatever reason, like this is where he comes alive. So for him, he's sort of like this weird deep cut elevator down, and I've got a weird elevator up. Uh, Bull Nakano entered the WWE Hall of Fame last year. Her
okay.
tag team partner, Dump Matsumoto, will be featured in a miniseries, like a fictional miniseries on Netflix.
Okay.
Netflix will also host Monday Night Raw starting next year.
Interesting.
So
All right.
I'll throw that there, and I'll leave some of the other things behind. I want to go to your good, bad, and ugly, and then we'll
All
see.
right. Can we take a quick break before that? My dog is going crazy. So take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're going to start with the bad, where we normally do. And as much as I want to put Steve Kerr's coaching ability here, I'm going to uh, go with. I know they won the gold medal, but Steve Kerr has proven beyond a doubt in my mind that there's been no man with a luckier career in the history of professional basketball. He got rings with Jordan, he got rings with Duncan, and he got rings because of Curry. And Curry bailed him out in that semifinal game against Serbia, in which they were being massively out rebounded, and he thought that his 6'10 first team All NBA forward wouldn't help as much as, oh, I don't know, people at 6 feet tall. He continually played three guards against a lineup that was much bigger than them, and they were getting killed until Steph Curry hit the nitrous oxide. So I'll just say that. But I'm going to go outside the Olympics where it's bad, and this is a story which I don't know many people are covering, but it's something very, very major. It's happening in international soccer.
Oh,
So there's an organization called Relevant Sports, which is owned by Stephen Ross, who owns Miami Dolphins, who's been engaged in an antitrust lawsuit for the last 5 years to the U.S. Soccer Federation and FIFA. So what Relevant has been trying to do is get soccer games like outside of in different leagues to come to the United States. So in 2018, they tried to have Barcelona play Girona in Miami,
okay.
but it has to be approved by CONCACAF and UEFA, and the Royal Football Spanish Football Federation and the Royal Spanish Football Federation turned it down, right? So then he tried again with Ecuadorian league with Guayaquil City and Barcelona, not that Barcelona, it's the Ecuador's Barcelona, and that got knocked down by the USSF. So basically, they have been trying to make Miami into a place where international games can be played, and they are being told no repeatedly because MLS is terrified that if American fans can watch international teams here, it's going to destroy the MLS. Does that make sense? That
No.
people are going to their idea is that there's a limited amount of soccer dollars out there,
Yeah.
and if you can go to see Barcelona and Madrid, I don't know if they'd ever do that game, but if you're going to go see, Barcelona play Girona and then Madrid play Payan, no, that's not a team from there. Play just a sporting in Miami and back-to-back games. They're going to do that and not spend money on other things.
Oh, it's myopic.
It's very myopic, but it's also an antitrust lawsuit that's happening. Mm-hmm. And if Revelation Sports wins, it may change the ability of individual cities and stuff and teams to schedule games wherever the hell they want, which they can't at the moment. Mm-hmm. So it would destroy a lot of the power of FIFA and CONCACAF and the individual federations and things along those lines. So it's been 5 years, but it's moving towards its end game. And we may see a seismic shift in international soccer because of this, because it's looking for what it seems like from the court is that they're going to rule in Stephen Ross's favor. So in terms of, I don't know how bad this is, but it's certainly earth-shattering if he wins, and what that's going to mean overall for U.S. soccer and other leagues around the world and their power. So it's going to be interesting. It's an antitrust case. I don't know if anyone else is really watching it. You guys all know you come here for your soccer law, because I cover it more probably than pretty much anybody outside of Hercules Gomez.
You should do.
Outside of Hercules Gomez. It's the two of us. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're at that point. So we'll do that there. So I'll leave it there. All right, let's do the ugly. Some of the reactions to some of the stuff at this Olympics has been.
Oh, sorry. Before you do that, just a quick thing. We're in this weird sports world where, and I've said this before, we have left-wing sports and right-wing sports.
Yeah.
I don't hate a lot of the commentators. I know that you despise Jason Whitlock. I don't like a lot of his takes.
He's not the only one, but yeah.
No, but I mean, like, you have Jason Whitlock, Dave Portnoy, and Jamel Hill, who are two sides of a very creepy coin. Fair. Having said that, I mean, I will listen to what they have to say because they have different takes. But Dave Portnoy, who I can't hate completely because he does pizza. I love pizza.
Fair enough.
But Portnoy, I mean, like, you cheered against the United States today because they weren't playing Jason Tatum enough. Well, yeah. I'm a Celtics guy, so I've got to like take up for him. You think he doesn't want to win the fucking gold medal, you dipshit? How about Derek White?
Yeah, no, that's a whole dumb thing. Like I said, I would never root against the United States.
Well, I'm not American, but you know what I'm trying to say here. Like that was just blew my fucking mind. I mean, like Tyrese Halliburton, I had this Instagram or tweet or whatever it was. It was like, and he's flashing his gold medal. It's like, I'm getting this wrong, but getting the A even though you didn't do shit. Mm-hmm. You know, like you're in the group project, because Halliburton didn't play too much. Halliburton's going to be like a bigger factor there. But it goes back to, it's like, can you imagine if the U.S. didn't win, and then on the women's side with Caitlin Clark?
Oh God, yeah. I was thinking the whole way through, because I only watched the first half today. Then I was walking the dog and do other stuff for the second half. So the dog would be quiet for our podcast. So, but they were shooting awful. I mean, terrible. They were missing layup after layup after layup. I know how much Caitlin Clark would have helped, but they would have heard it to anything. No, they wouldn't. 100% wouldn't. And if the U.S. had lost to Serbia, let me tell you, like, forget about the people on Twitter. Like, all the NBA guys were like, what the hell is Kerr doing? The first team All-NBA, how many Americans are on the first team All-NBA?
Or just Tatum this year.
Yeah, one. Jason Tatum. And you're telling me he can't play against Serbia? Like, it's like.
But they won.
No, again, I agree they won. But they won because Steph Curry bailed Steve Kerr's ass out again.
And LeBron, too.
And LeBron. And yeah. Again,
I think my favorite thing isn't, like, for Team USA in 2024, it's not what they did here. It's LeBron saying, I'm not fucking losing to South Sudan.
Oh, no, I get it. Yeah. No, I get it. But again, they won despite Steve Kerr, not because of him. And you shouldn't
that's fair. And that's fair.
You shouldn't be rooting against the U.S. You should have
No,
been
but
in any shape forward. And by the way, this team was set up for Durant, Curry, and LeBron to lead this team. Like
Mhm.
3 years ago, Durant was the only one of these guys who showed up. Tatum was his number two, and that team. If you look at that roster, like how the hell do they win gold? The answer is because Durant and Tatum were like, we're not winning gold.
yeah.
Like, and so this time Tatum has to take a back seat to his seniors, right? This is probably the goodbye for Durant, probably the goodbye for Curry. It will not be the goodbye for LeBron. I will tell you why, because the next Olympics is in Los Angeles, and he's going to play on that freaking team.
By the way, my son deserves a spot.
Yeah, but I mean that will be the Tatum, Brown, Halliburton, the guy from the Knicks whose name just popped right on my head.
Brunson.
Brunson, like those guys will be running this team. This is the goodbye for the main guys, right? Embiid was awful, by the way, most of his tournaments.
He was. Yeah, he didn't have a great one. I really liked.
But rooting. Sorry, but I was gonna say, like 2020, it's a whole separate thing. But rooting against this team because he didn't like the way the coach is done is one of the dumbest
I
things.
hated that. It's like Dave. I know you're sort of like not on my political spectrum, but what the fuck, dude?
And Tatum becomes the first person to lead his team in points, assists, and rebounds. Points, assists, and rebounds on a championship team and win a gold medal in the same year. It's him, LeBron, and who's the other one? I can't remember there are three of them. I can't remember who the third one is right now. But yeah, it's him, LeBron, and one other person in the history of basketball. So
I interrupted your whole thing. I just wanted to.
Yeah, the dude still has 2 gold medals. Well,
I mean, because that take I saw today really bothered me. Like, why would you say that?
That's part of it, though. Like, we have people who are like, I'm sorry that the folks who did the opening ceremony of France aren't in tune with the religious right and their sensibilities.
I missed it completely. I was watching it as I was working. It's
I didn't see it because I was in.
I didn't notice it.
Yeah, but apparently they didn't have the right painting. There's all sorts of stuff. By the way, I hate to break it to you, the Last Supper painted by Michelangelo is not actually in the Bible. It's
my forefathers are there. Unfortunately, in that picture, but we were at table 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but like,
right. Well, we just lost the religious right and religious left.
Well, the outcry on that, the outcry when one of the sweetest moments, the French track and field athlete proposed to her boyfriend after her event.
Oh, I missed that.
The whole Meninists, like how he was emasculated and like all these things because one of the most accomplished and gorgeous women in the world, in one of her happiest moments, decided to ask for your hand in marriage is somehow a bad thing.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that.
Hey guys, is it gay to marry a woman? Because apparently it is.
Don't think so.
Well, apparently it is. Like, but
having said that, I mean, to a small degree, I'm glad I'm the one who proposed, not my wife.
Fair, I get it, but whatever. Like, if my wife had proposed to me, would I have been like, "Oh my God, this is terrible"? No. So again,
yeah. All right.
It's all on how you do stuff, right? I asked my father-in-law for permission to marry my wife only because my wife asked me to. Otherwise, I don't. When my daughter gets married, the dude doesn't ask or woman, I don't know. Like she's 12, who knows? But like when that happens, I don't own my daughter.
I had to do the same thing, but I had someone translate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I asked my father-in-law, and the only thing he said was, "Well, your kids are going to be smart." That's the only thing he said to me. So he's a man of few words. But just like the whole stupid everything is
binary
crisis automatically, plus a whole Algerian boxer.
Okay, so let's go there. Let's go there. because like we talked about that briefly, and that was something that I was going to bring up because the first time I heard this stuff, it's like trans boxer. This is the
Yeah.
first thing that a lot of us heard, and I'll admit, I've said this here before. This is my line. No, I could give a shit about trans people. Not that I give a shit about you know what I mean. Like with trans people doing anything they want to do. Trans men, trans women, don't care. But don't tell me that a trans woman doesn't have a physical advantage in
Mm-hmm.
sports because they do.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes out, and then you hear it's from Algeria. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Algeria and trans does not go together.
Yeah, no. Well, it does in the fact that if you're trans in Algeria, you could be put to death.
Well, yes, but I mean, like
There's no way that
Algeria, yeah,
there's no
there's
way
no
that an Algerian athlete could be trans and
exactly.
compete for Algeria.
Like that's your first red flag, and then the second one was Taiwan. But I learned, and I didn't know this. Apparently, Taiwan doesn't allow that either, which was a little surprising to me, thinking that they're more in the Western sort of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So I said this to Chris, and I'll say this here again. So clearly, these two people are intersex. Not clearly, but it seems that way. Might be wrong, might not be. Don't know. But we're talking about two people who have very masculine characteristics who flunked a sex test in the World Boxing Championship in 2023 for chromosome was XYX. I don't even know the difference. XX is
They,
XY. Okay, yeah, I don't know. But long story short, you have these two people who grew up thinking this for their entire life. So we talked about a year ago about Caster Semenya, who was the middle distance runner from South Africa. And what do you do if that's what you grew up with? You can't help it. You're not doing this on purpose. You're not trying to cheat. You are blessed, cursed, whatever you want to look at it, with elevated testosterone that gives you these advantages. So what are you supposed to do? And I said to Chris, I don't know what the right answer is here. I just want that for each of these bodies, boxing, wrestling, track, skate, whatever it is, I don't think it's too much to ask to have a straight answer for this question.
yeah, but here's the thing. Going back, I'm sorry, you said something. I let you go, but
No, okay, no.
going back to the two boxers,
Yeah.
they've been competing legitimately for
Mhm.
years. It's not like they just started competing. There
Right.
was one test that was taken allegedly by the Russian-based federation only
Okay.
on those two, and that apparently came back negative that or whatever that nobody has ever seen.
All
And
right.
all the
Okay. So
information
only
about
those
that is
two were tested?
yes, only
Okay.
those two, for no apparent reason, were tested
Right.
other than
And I didn't know that. And that sort of
right,
changes
and
what I've heard.
which is why IOC, who's in charge of this stuff, threw out the IBA saying they got to figure this stuff out and took over who could compete and who couldn't. Right. So essentially, it was a Russian-led anti-doping thing that they only tested the two athletes.
This is ironic in itself, Russian-led anti-doping.
I know, but it Russian-led anti-doping due to their feeling on trans athletes. And
Okay.
so they came back negative or came back whatever, that they have high levels of stuff, which is not that surprising because I get it that people are born that way sometimes. But
Mhm.
these people were born with uteruses and vaginas. So it's not like they have changed genders any more than Michael Phelps, who has other things with his body that make him a
It's
freak
90%
athlete,
lung.
or Secretariat had twice the size of heart of other horses. Like when he died, they figured that out. Like this is something they were born with. This is not something they
Okay, no,
changed.
fair, fair. I know that,
And I agree with you. They need to come up with some plan overall
yeah.
for this. But This is not the case.
Okay, no, that's
These are
additional
not
information
people who have
I
gone
hadn't
through
read
any
yet.
sort
Okay.
of therapy.
Yeah.
They were born this way. There
Yeah.
are billions of people on the planet. They're going to be billions of genetic mutations. Some women are going to have more testosterone. Some
Well,
men are going to have more estrogen. It's just the way it works.
I think also too, like when you and I were in Canton together, and you sort of like showed me this one picture. It was something written by this one writer. I don't remember who. It doesn't matter. And then it was sort of like because it would go to like different outlets, and
Oh yeah, for the Boston Globe headline.
yeah, and their headline was trans, and at that point, well, we kind of knew they weren't.
Right.
It's a totally different thing. They were not trying to sort of. They didn't grow up and saying, "Well, this is what I am." Blah blah. I gotta. And
Doesn't she have a child?
oh, I don't know.
Algerian boxer?
I don't
Go
think
ahead,
so.
keep going.
Yeah, look that up. I'm not aware of that, but and then I read something from because again, I might be one of those few people who
She does not. I'm sorry.
okay
I missed
because I will spend time in a left wing and in a right wing echo chamber just so that I know what people are thinking, and which isn't always fun, but nevertheless, I think it gives me a more balanced opinion. And one of the things I saw in the left wing one, and I didn't really think of this. So she's going to have to go back to Algeria with a lot of people asking these questions in a country where, if they think otherwise, she's in danger. Now, the visual of somebody like that, I guess with boxing, it's so different, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to like measure my words, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. Having said that, man, I mean, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, other than I wish there was some kind of consistency here. And I wish there was a way for everyone to sort of compete on some kind of level. But if you're intersex, which I suspect they are, don't know
Mm-hmm.
for sure. We know that Caster is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about these two boxers. But taking away some kind of joy and still keep it fair, I don't have an answer, man. I don't.
I don't either, but these folks were allowed to compete. They were born female. And
Yeah.
I mean, what are they supposed to do? You decide.
I don't know. So I guess we're closing off with your good, but can I give a Jilly?
Sure.
All right.
I,
Here's the Jilly Award. You
okay.
can come here and get it. What's the Jilly? Want to tell everyone what the Jilly is, or you should want to let me do that?
I'll let you do it.
I kind of thought that was the case, but that's okay. The Jilly, named after Dr. Jill Biden, and I will never call her a doctor because if I'm choking and someone says, "I need a doctor,"
Right,
she shows up.
Stop that.
No.
No. I mean, there are doctors of everything, and their doctorate isn't.
No.
All right,
No.
you and I are very different on that. I'm
On
sorry.
this one, fine.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, because if she shows up to help me, I'm screwed. I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Okay. It's still named after her. And here's why. Because this is based on the 2023, it's 2023 NCAA championships in women's basketball, where she said, I think the losing team should come too. And everyone disliked that, left and right. Fair? That happened.
Sure.
Okay. What do you mean, sure? It happened.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It was the only time I've ever seen Candace Owens and Jamel Hill agree on something.
Okay.
Which was delete this tweet.
Okay.
So here it is. It's back to the Olympics. And it's for a breaker named Ray Gunn. Did you see that?
Yeah. And the stuff that she's gotten.
Well, no, she shouldn't get that type of misogynistic hate, but she shouldn't have sort of put herself in that position either. No. Ray Gunn. Okay, I'm not a break dancer. I'm assuming you're not either.
No.
Did you ever break dance as a kid?
I mean, I've done some breakdancing moves while doing other forms of dance. I took tap dancing and we incorporated.
Did you? Okay.
Into tap dancing, but yeah.
Uh,
I wouldn't say I was ever a real break dancer. I can do a few of the moves, and that's about it.
well, I've watched the breakdancing movies. I watched what she did. This is the first time I've ever seen an Olympic athlete where I can say that, well, I can't do it better. I can't do it worse because she had zero in every score because she's doing this in an interpretive way. It was embarrassing. Shouldn't have happened. Probably shouldn't have been allowed. And I feel bad for the online hate she's getting, and maybe I'm adding to it. I don't know. But at some point, do you not think maybe don't do like, should not someone step in when she even knows herself that what she's doing is going to like bomb? She said it. What I do has no power moves, has no freezing, has none of the things that are looking. This interpretive stuff is going to bomb and you're going to embarrass yourself. Sadly for her, it exasperated to the whole, well, not exasperated, it exaggerated to the entire world, and it's embarrassing to watch. And again, the far left, Jamel's making fun of it. She quoted that sort of like saying, "This is what it looks like when I'm trying to take off my top without getting makeup on my clothes." And the far right, it was sad to watch in a sport that shouldn't have been there.
No, I mean, the sport should have been there, as I've said that, and it won't be there in 2028.
It will not.
No, the sport, it took karate's spot. Karate, baseball, and softball.
It took the spot of karate? Like it took it, because like, how can it take?
So baseball, softball, and karate were at the Olympics in Japan.
Right.
France basically said that when it comes to, it was in Japan because Japan cares about baseball. Europe does not care about baseball and softball. And they weren't going to build a facility, so they're going to be dropped. So it came down to what the last sports were going to be. They had 3 spots, one of which is the rock climbing, the speed rock climbing competition, which is really fun and really athletic, and I get it.
And then Indonesian won a medal, by the way.
Indonesia won a medal. But it's something that's easy to do for them and fits in with other things. So that got a spot. I'm not surprised. But then the last spot came down to breakdancing or karate, and they went with breakdancing.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so karate was not a part of the 2020. It won't be part of 2028 either. Because I personally know 2 karate world champions on the women's side, and the heavyweight and the I can't remember the name of the second weight. It's not it's essentially the heavyweight and the one right below it in karate. I know both of them. They're a pair of sisters who live not far from me. They've both been my coaches over the last few years. People, when I started taking karate, and I was like, yeah, my coach is a 19-year-old girl. And people were like, 19-year-old girl? I'm like, yeah, she's way better than I am. But both of them would have been on the U.S. Olympic team. But for the fact they found out in, I don't know, September last year that they weren't going to get a spot. So, and they're at the U.S. Olympic training facility with the breakdancers, and they're like, the breakdancers are like, man, I trained for an hour and I'm exhausted. And they're like, you trained for an hour? They were like super frustrated.
I think what also sort of like this, I'm getting Eddie the Eagle Edwards flashbacks.
Or the swimmer from, where was he from? Ghana.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I can visualize it, but I don't know his name. But I mean, it's like one of those things. Well, although with ski jumping, at least it still exists. Swimming, it still exists. The winner of the gold medal in both men's and female, I don't know who they are. Mm-hmm. And none of them combined will be more infamous or famous than this person.
Yeah, that's true.
Who bluntly embarrassed herself because she's trying to do something interpretive. And apparently she teaches interpretive dance and gender studies, which is exactly what you think you'd see when you hear that. And whether that's a right-wing win, whatever, I don't care. That's what I watched, and that's what it was. And this shouldn't have been allowed to take place.
Okay.
Well, basically for her own sake.
Yeah.
That should not have been allowed. Eddie Edwards should not have been allowed. The Ghanaian swimmer should not have been allowed. The Thai violinist or Vietnamese violinist who was what's her name? Vanessa May. I might be wrong on that.
I don't know
Who
what you're talking about.
it's a South Asian person who got to compete in the Winter Olympics through they figured out some back way to get her in so that they could have her compete. And she was better than I could ski, but shouldn't have been there.
Got it.
It's this it goes back to the same Olympic bullshit. All these things that I love, and for every time I watch the Olympics, every fucking time, for everything that makes me happy, I will find something that makes me fucking cringe. Every year, every time.
I get it.
All right, close this off on something good because I went in places. One thing, because you didn't like my Dr. Jilly. So we got to
Yeah,
close.
well, I mean, I would just love for you to go tell someone that Martin Luther King wasn't a doctor. So,
It's not the same thing.
oh, I'm sorry. So you get to choose which doctorate's a real doctorate, Mr. Buchner? Dr. Martin Luther King wouldn't have been able to save you either, my friend.
How dare you stump me with logic, you asshole?
Just and that, I mean that's my problem with that. Like,
Okay, fine. And maybe fine. Okay, you know what? Yeah, got me.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, got me on that one.
yeah, that's just one of those stupid ones. Like, that's one of the laziest arguments out there, and it bothers me every time, regardless of who makes it. Like, they would never
And
say
that's
that.
fair.
They would never say that Dr. Billy Graham wasn't a doctor, who was a doctor of religion, right?
I didn't know he was called Dr. Billy Graham.
Yeah, they would never do that, right?
I will
But
counter with Dr. Cosby.
okay, well, he's got other issues.
Okay. But you know what? I will take my partial L and wear it with pride. How's
Fair
that?
enough.
Because that's a good counter. I didn't think of that. And
yeah, I mean, I get it. It's just
no, that's fine. That's fine.
we should be picking and choosing what doctors are. There are different types of doctors. I also wouldn't want a podiatrist to try and save me from a heart condition.
I'd
So,
take a podiatrist over Cosby.
I mean, everybody should take everything on Cosby. I wouldn't even. I mean, the man who did picture pages, I would take a 5-year-old to color something in over him. Anyway, so all right, so let's talk about the good things of the Olympics.
Let's do it.
So we already touched on 2 countries won their first ever gold medals.
Yep.
In the Olympics. The first one you brought up was St. Lucia, who won not 1 but 2 gold medals. Correct?
Oh, I didn't know they won a second. I knew that.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me make sure I got this right.
Okay.
Sorry, no, they won. She won. Julian Alfred won a gold and a silver for St. Lucia. But Thea Lafond won the first ever gold medal for Dominica in the triple jump. So Dominica and St. Lucia now both have their first ever medals. South Sudan and Azerbaijan both qualified for the first time ever in team sports, both in basketball. Azerbaijan is in the 3x3 basketball, which is also a weird thing, but whatever. We had Ireland winning their first ever gold medal in swimming. And when that gentleman won, whose name is escaping me at the moment, he said that it was the first time he can remember ever having heard the Irish national anthem being played at the
William
Olympics.
O'Shaughnessy.
That's the one.
Could be.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know either. I just came up.
So it's not Liam O'Shaughnessy. I don't remember his name. I saw the race in Ohio. So the first night we got there.
Okay.
So
yeah.
The Philippines' Carlos Yulo became the second ever medalist and the first Filipino athlete ever to win 2 Olympic gold medals when he won the men's floor and men's vault in the gymnastics.
Okay.
Now this one changed technically, but with Rebecca Andrade winning the all around, and then Simone Biles and Jordan Childs, and we'll see exactly what happens. But it was the first time 3 African Americans were ever on a gymnastics podium at the Olympics. And we'll see what happens. My guess is they end up giving 3 bronze medals.
My understanding is that they already switched it, did they not?
Yeah, but everything's appealed again. My thought is they're going to end up giving 3 bronze medals because there's a question whether she should have been deducted, and then her teammate, they said, stepped out of bounds but didn't. And the reason that they declined the saying that Jordan Charleston shouldn't have stood because they had a minute to
A
protest.
minute, yeah, and the
They had
protest was
protest
a minute 4 seconds.
minute and 4 seconds. So
Yeah,
this is ultimately what's going to happen here when this is all out, is they're going to end up giving 3 bronze medals.
I hope you're right because as Suni Lee said on her social media, like, do we not sort of look at the judges at this point?
Oh yeah, of
Because
course it should
at
be.
that point, if in fact that protest comes at a minute 4, is there not sort of like, I don't know, the hour or something like that? Maybe I've been watching too much football and just like stricted rules and whatnot, but to lose like that for both, for both of them, I mean, like, it's an awful position for anyone sort of like going the whole racial card. Either side, frankly, is fucking disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you all if that's where you're going. Uh, and apparently both of them, both the Romanian and Jordan, have taken a social media break because I can't even imagine the bullshit they're going through.
Oh yeah,
For shit that is completely out of their.
Which is again, this is my most controversial statement you'll ever hear me make.
Okay.
If your sport is dependent upon the voting of judges, it is an athletic competition and not a sport.
If there are people, I'm with you 1,000%.
If there are people who interpret rules,
mm-hmm.
and they can get those wrong, the people who interpret rules, I get it, right? So, and I've been accused. My mother accused me of saying that I just hate women's sports, which isn't true. Basketball, field hockey, ice hockey, like all those, rugby, they're all sports. But
like, you're pretty much honorary of every. You're the one who set up the whole women's. Make sure that we have women's a quota.
Yeah, I know. My mother said this before, but again, it's a lot of the cheerleading, diving, figure skating. If there has to be,
I want to step up for my boy here. Even though they threw me under the bus with Dr. King, and I have no response to that.
Yeah, but this is my thing. Again, they're athletic competitions, they're not sports because of this. If it were this into judge interpretation, and then we've got to figure out a better way to do this. Anyway, other things that I enjoyed the American in the high jump saying he wasn't interested in multiple gold medals. And then Hamish Kerr from New Zealand winning the high jump and the American finishing second. I thought it was cool, even though the American didn't get a gold. He wanted to jump for it and lost, but hey, he went for it. I thought that was cool. I liked we had things that never happened before. It's Americans winning in fencing. We had American against American in the final for the gold medal in women's fencing. That was cool. Yeah. So that's the Americans did better in sports we never normally don't do anything when. We had a gentleman who won the bronze. I can't think of his name, but he won the bronze in the 5,000 and the 10,000 for America, which is not something we normally do. The guy who won the marathon, I watched the whole marathon yesterday, Kirk.
Oh yeah?
I watched the entire thing. Now, it was on in the background, but I had the entire thing. But the gentleman who won from Tola from Ethiopia didn't make the team. And one of his teammates got injured, and he was a last-minute replacement. And not only did he win, he led most of that race, I would say it's in kilometers, but let's just say like the 10-mile mark on. He led that race and ran away with it. Not only did he run away with it, he broke a record people don't think were going to be broken for the fastest marathon at the Olympics. He broke it by 8 to 10 seconds because that was thought to be an incredibly difficult course. And the previous record was on a pretty flat course in Beijing. And this one, he won the whole thing, which was amazing for him. Americans that finished, by the way, 8th and 9th, which is some of the best the Americans have finished in the marathon for a long time. That's the guys' marathon. But there are a lot of like incredible moments. The Turkish and South Korean shooters who basically they should just have hitmen, like a hitman game where you get to just be those people. The Turkish shooter with like the earplugs he got from the airplane in his ears and just his normal glasses one hand in his pocket. Only thing he was missing from like being a character in Leon, the professional, was a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Like that guy was amazing. And the woman from South Korea, who literally, if she hasn't killed multiple people, I don't know what South Korea's government is doing. Because she just like was so freaking cool. And that was awesome. I think I told you, I watched so much archery. I would watch late night team archery competitions because that was freaking cool. It's basically
simple to follow.
I shoot 3 arrows, they shoot 3 arrows. I shoot 3 arrows, they shoot 3 arrows. That was the best score overall. They win that set. First one to 3 out of 5 sets wins. They're shooting 70 meters, which is what, 225 feet, something like that. So it looks like they're missing by like target by like a little bit. You're like, oh my god, that was a really bad shot, but it was probably like a 1 mile an hour gust of wind over that amount of time that they didn't adjust for. That took it over. But I would watch archery, and the most successful team in the world, the South Korean women's archery team.
You're saying that to me, yeah, and that's so true.
Consecutive gold medal in that, barely beating China. Mexico won the bronze in that, by the way. That whole thing was super compelling.
How do you Americans not win a shooting medal? How does that happen?
As I joked, my friend posted that online. As I joked, it's because they only shoot one bullet at a time. So give us an AR-15 and we will take it out. But if it's one bullet at a time, that's not what we do. But there were a lot of incredible things to watch. I was involved. I watched all of the women's handball gold medal game where Norway
get into handball.
Norway beat France.
Yeah.
I watched that whole thing. That was super interesting. That's a sport that the U.S. should be better at than we are.
I was watching a lot of water
running, passing, and throwing something.
Yeah, the water polo I was watching. I was more interested in that because I tried to get into handball. I just couldn't.
Yeah, water polo it makes me like hyper nervous because I'm sure someone's going to drown on one of those things. So, by the way, trivia question for you.
I don't know the answer.
No, I bet you can get it. What are the only two team sports at the Olympics where the competitors don't wear shoes at any point?
Well, I guess water polo is one.
And
I don't wear shoes. Equestrian?
No.
That was a trick question.
Beach volleyball.
Oh, so, Jesus. Okay.
And the horses do wear shoes.
Yeah.
It's on there. So anyway, also, the greatest American star to come out of this who nobody knew before, Alona Meyer. Do you know who Alona Meyer is?
I heard the name, but I'm trying to remember what sport.
She's now the rugby star with the most followers on all things in the world. She came in number 2. She picked up 21.4 million followers.
Why?
For the first week, because she is a fucking beast. The Americans finished 3rd in women's 7-on-7 rugby. They beat Australia for the bronze in rugby, right? And she was just ridiculous. They beat the women's 7-on-7 rugby was amazing. She is just a awesome person. She was another one the genital police were over because she's so widely built. But again,
okay. Yeah, now I definitely know.
All right. But again, she's a professional athlete who lifts weights for her sport. So guess what happens when you do that? You get
okay. Yep.
But Alona Meyer and the women's rugby sevens team, they were awesome. I love watching that. I love watching rugby. Rugby sevens is a sport I could get behind here in the U.S.
I think when I was in New Zealand for a brief period of time, it just seemed like if I was living there, I don't see how I don't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. And we're not.
Well, and did you see how the U.S. won the bronze?
Nope.
The very last play of the game, time runs out. As soon as they're tackled, it's over. I can't remember her name, not Alona Meyer, but one of her teammates breaks a tackle and goes the entire length of the field as time expires to tie the game. And then she kicked the 2 points to win the game. Mm-hmm. But there's literally, it's a 90-minute game. It was literally the 89th minute past 50 seconds. And she broke the tackle, ran down the field, and the 2-pointer won it for them. So they got the bronze. The whole thing was super exciting. It's great to see these sports that I normally don't see. Like some I never saw. I never saw any canoeing. I never saw any rowing this time. I never saw like a bunch of them. But like just in general, the Olympics is great. They should have it every 2 years instead of every four, except for the fact it would bankrupt everyone. This was actually supposed to be. Do you know what U.S. city was put up for this Olympics originally?
Uh, let's see. Was it New York? Boston?
It was Boston.
Okay.
And Boston voters said, fuck no, we're not doing this. And so, yeah, so it was Chicago was 2020, and then Boston was 2024. And they got rejected for 2020, and the 2024 Boston said no. So 2028 LA is the next one. Yeah, they're like, hey, if we get the Olympics, we can fix this, and the people in Boston are like, why don't we just fix this, and this without having to have the Olympics?
I'll close off with one bad joke here because I can't help it. If the refugee would have won in boxing, would they have played Tom Petty's Refugee?
They should have.
Yeah, I'll stop there.
I mean, who knows? At the Olympics screwed up at the opening ceremony. They called North Korea, or they called South Korea the People's Democratic Republic of Korea, which is North Korea. So South Korea is suing. And then
they're suing?
Oh yeah, they're suing.
For what?
For basic.
What's your damage for this?
National pride.
Okay.
And then at one point one of the Olympic medals Tajikistan won. They put it the flag of Thailand instead, which did go
well. I mean, like it's just more embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. Because certain things they should probably figure. If you're the Olympics, you should probably at least know everybody's flag and name.
Well, I remember in the '92 World Series was the U.S. color guard, right? And then they flew the Canadian flag upside down. They probably never saw it before.
Probably, probably true.
What do those things do? It's like, yes.
You know what's crazy, my friend? I hate to do this to you, but Canadian teams have won the World Series more recently, and they've won the Stanley Cup.
So no.
Yeah.
That is true. Literally, yeah. By a couple months, yes.
Yeah, by like,
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. But the NBA.
Yeah.
There's something if you would have told me that in '93. By the way, the next time after the Jays win the World Series, by the way, next time you're going to see a Canadian team win anything in the Big Four, it's going to be in the NBA. We don't have a team.
they had two, and now you're down to one. So we'll see what happens. They're going to add two teams coming up here. It looks like so.
That is a messed up thing. I got to tweet that for my few people who care. But anywho, I think we've gone quite a bit here. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, before I say all my little closing, remember you're going to www.theUSAHOF.com. And apparently Jill Biden can take a better care of you than I thought. So there you go.
That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it.
No. You know what? I'm taking a partial L.
I get it. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden. It has to do
no. I mean, your thing with Doctor. You're right. I never would have said that.
Yeah.
You got me there. All good.
We'll make up for another beer at some point. So
there you go. All right, take care, everyone. Make this day count because it never comes again. Later.